from home, because we still everyone home, but we keep smiling because we talk about puppetry today. I have the honor to receive a doctor in puppetry, un docteur en marionnette. Mesdames et messieurs, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome in the screen Mr. John Bell, who will appear right there. Hi, John.
Merci. Hi, how are you? Ça va?
Ça va très bien malgré les circonstances.
Oui, c'est toute nouvelle, tout nouveau. Toutes les choses sont différentes en ce moment. Mais c'est un grand plaisir d'être partie de cette podcast.
Yes, I'm happy to have you. I'm really happy. We met in Boston when I was there in the residency at Puppet Show Place. And I'm happy to have more of your knowledge and bring it to the friends who listen to us right now. So
great. Well, thank you. And I'm excited when I follow your work with Cirque du Soleil online. I mean, now you had to stop, but that's been super interesting to follow your work around the world.
Yeah, totally. And we will be back. Cirque, we will continue in October, November. For now, it's kind of like summer is in front of us, and we will just try to create from there. And to share about puppeteering, because I was talking, this podcast was created because I was alone as a puppeteer in a whole cast of artists. So I was like trying to meet other puppeteers or just get into the field and get connection and build a network. And we keep doing it instead of just be from home and build a network and just share this passion. So I will start with my first question. It's always kind of the same question, but it's always really original to get the vision of everyone. It's what makes the art of puppetry an art that you cherish?
Well, I think there are those moments of a puppet show that become quite magical because you have, an object that's made out of paper, cardboard, and then by juxtaposing it with other objects, you can create emotion or stories or whatever you want by this manipulation and combination of images together with sound and text and music and light. And it's something that I don't feel any other medium can really do. I started out doing acting as an actor, but then when I saw what puppetry could do, I thought, oh, that's more interesting for me because it involves so many types of art coming together. And it can address big issues and small issues and comedy and tragedy and ritual and all of those things.
Yes, and as a practitioner, you have done some toy theater, it's a kind of puppet theater, but it was kind of new when we were talking about it. Could you explain maybe to the people what is toy theater?
Yeah, sure. Well, I started with my wife Trudy Cohen doing a giant puppet theater with Bread and Puppet Theater, which is based in Vermont, doing stuff like this. This is a book I wrote about some of those giant pageants.
Yes.
But then when we went out on our own, we started a company called Great Small Works in New York City, and we started to work with toy theater, which is flat, cut out paper proscenium arch puppets that were part of a popular home entertainment form that began in England in the late 1700s, and then throughout the 1900s or the 1800s, the 19th century, it became popular in England and France and Germany and Italy and Spain and the United States, probably Canada somehow. And we rediscovered this, our Great Small Works company in New York City in the late 1990s, because, well, one thing I think puppeteers know about toy theater, or they've seen images of old toy theater, but it's not something that people were doing very much. So we thought, okay, we live in New York City, we're living in small apartments, we can't schlep things, carry things around the city. Maybe there's a way to have a show that fits in a suitcase.
Yeah.
And you could take to someone's apartment and do it. So we did, and we started to make shows about actually the news. And at that time, the U.S. was starting a war in Iraq, and we were thinking it's really crazy. So we did shows about the lead up to that war called Terror as Usual. This is in the late 1990s, and then just kept going and have made more episodes of Terror as Usual, and done shows like Hamlet and Faust and all sorts of different productions that involve this small frame and flat cutout characters. It's like, you know, sometimes when you make puppets, you spend all your focus on one puppet. You know, you create one puppet and that's the puppet you manipulate. But with toy theater, you're, instead of one puppet, it's really the whole world, the world of the toy theater stage and the many flat cutout puppets that are in it. So it's creating a world, a whole world in a puppet stage. So it's cheap. We like that form. And actually, we're presenting an online toy theater festival tomorrow, Thursday, April 2nd at 7:30 Eastern time on our Great Small Works Facebook page. We're live streaming it. And we're doing the second part of it on Friday, April 3rd at 7:30 Eastern time. And we've been rehearsing and getting toy theater shows from across the United States and I think Canada and Mexico and Germany. So they're very short, like 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
Wow.
And some of them will be performed live and some will be recorded, but I think it'll be super exciting to see that.
Yes. I will put the link down there so people could click and just enjoy live stuff or just online stuff as we bounce. We have, like, as you were saying, in New York, small apartment, you build that form of theater. Do you think puppeteer are good, like bouncer, like to just be able to live in different conditions?
I think so. I mean, maybe I'm romanticizing the form, but I feel like puppeteers have to deal with all sorts of different situations, and we're used to moving around and schlepping our stages and puppets and musical instruments and equipment from place to place. So, for example, I'm the director of a puppet institute at the University of Connecticut in the United States, and it's connected to the Puppet Arts program at the University of Connecticut. But for the Ballard Institute and Museum of Puppetry, where I work, we have shifted from our live programming to do everything as much as we can online, also through our Ballard Institute and Museum of Puppetry Facebook page. And so we've been doing workshops and we'll be doing performances and discussions, sort of following your example in a way. We did one of our students did a marionette workshop today at 2:00. There'll be another workshop on this Friday at 2 p.m. So it's been really interesting to see how, kind of like what you're doing, we could shift to trying to make puppetry work with a camera through this technology of live streaming. And in a way, it seems it's sort of exciting to be forced to use that technology and say, okay, let's try it out. What can we do? And, you know, well, we can make a puppet show right on, you know, through our laptop computers, and we can share it around the world. With the Ballard Institute, we're going to make a presentation about a performance by a Balinese dalong, Gusti Sudarta, who's been working with my colleague at UCONN, Matthew Cohen, and they're going to present. We'll stream a video of a combination United States Balinese gamelan show about the history of tobacco, which is in Virginia and in Indonesia. And that'll be presented, and we'll have a discussion. We'll have two discussions. One will be in English with Dr. Cohen and Sudi Gustata and others. And the other discussion, 12 hours earlier, will be in Indonesian. And the same people, but they'll be speaking in Indonesian to talk about this combination of Balinese and American puppetry. So like that's something that we wouldn't have thought of doing before the coronavirus challenges faced us. And I think it's that's really interesting to try to connect internationally through this medium.
Yeah, instead of staying home, we could maybe expand or try to reach outside of the box. And could you tell us, as a bit of storytelling, when your crush, like for puppetry, happened as an actor? Like I know now you teach, so. Here?
Well, when I was in college 150 years ago in the state of Vermont, which is just south of Quebec, I was being an actor, which I had done in high school, and acting is very challenging because you have to use your body and mind to become a different character, and that was hard for me. And then I saw Bread and Puppet Theater, which I later started to work with, and they did shows where you didn't have to act. You could, you could act through a piece of cardboard or, or a giant puppet.
Yes.
And also you would use dance and poetry and music, and as a puppeteer, you also design and build the puppets, and you schlep them around and you build stages. So I think the combination of all those different tasks really appealed to me, and I didn't have to act. I didn't have to pretend I was someone else. As a puppeteer, you can be just who you are, but you happen to be manipulating, a puppet, and giving it a voice and move. So I like that possibility. Also, the possibility of doing shows about issues that were really important to us, which were at that time the war in Vietnam, and now I don't know, trying to do shows. We could do shows about the coronavirus and what that means immediately with puppets. So that enchanted me, and after I graduated from college, I started working with Bread and Puppet Theater, and did that for like 12 years and traveled around the world, kind of like what you're doing, but in a different context, and saw that puppetry was something that exists sort of everywhere we went, in Europe and Latin America and North Africa and all around all of the Americas. So I studied history of puppetry and became a doctor of puppetry, so I could know more and try to teach about the form.
Yes, totally. And do you think the puppet art is in an ascension? or it's less popular? What do you think about like the popularity of the medium?
It's, well, when I think of like the history of puppetry, it sort of goes up and down sometimes. I think it's always there. I think it's always there in one way or another, but the public attention to it changes. So sometimes people discover it. Oh my gosh, it's puppets. And then like in the 1920s or 1960s or the 1990s in the United States, you know, people said, "Oh my God, look what you can do with puppets." And then after a while, people forget about puppets, and then they rediscover them, you know, as if it's something brand new rather than one of the oldest forms of performance in the world, right? So I don't know. It's in a way that's nice because then people say, "Oh my gosh, look, it's puppets. Who knew? It's so fantastic. What a great possibility." Um, so I think it's always there, but from time to time it gets rediscovered. And right now,
Yeah.
like, you know, thinking of, you know, Cirque du Soleil typically uses puppets, and there's puppets on a lot of Broadway shows since Julie Taymor did The Lion
Yeah.
King. There's always been strong puppetry in television and in film. You know, like the Star Wars movies are using Lord of the Rings. There's puppetry goes into special effects. There's a lot of giant puppet performance, or I like the term performing objects. There's an event called Burning Man in Nevada that happens every year, a giant outdoor sort of pageant, and there's tons and tons of puppets and performing objects there.
Yes.
So it's there's new stuff happening, and also traditionally, you know, when you look at it, you understand, puppets and objects are important for like First Nations culture historically, and Asian cultures, and India and China and Japan and Indonesia, and all sorts of different African forms of puppet object and mass performance. They're all, it's a language that you can use, you know, and just jumping into that language is a very rich form.
Yeah, and it could be international or multi-language. He have his own vocabulary. I really agree on that.
Right.
And do you?
Yeah, in some
Oh,
cases,
go.
sometimes you don't need language. You can just use the images.
Yeah.
You can use language if you want to, but you don't need to use language. It's fascinating.
Yes, the image, the power of the image. And do you have a big purpose as a puppeteer or as a teacher in puppeteering? Do you have like something you want to achieve, or you wish that it will be achieved by the medium of puppetry?
I think just letting people know that it's an option, that it's a medium that can be used in many different ways. You can use traditional, you know, hand puppets or marionettes or rod puppets, but you could also do a show, you know, with coffee cups if you wanted to, you know, object performance. Or you could make a miniature spectacle or a giant spectacle. It could be for education or children's entertainment, or for political theater, which is what I like, or, you know, a serious, you know, a tragedy you can do with puppets.
Yeah.
So when I'm teaching, I'm just hoping to share with students or whoever the idea that in a way anybody can do it. You know, anybody can make a puppet show, although, you know, like you're a professional puppeteer or a professional performer, and you know what you're doing, and that's another level of it. But you can enter into the form on many different levels, and it can be satisfying if you're just an amateur, or you're playing with a stuffed animal with your child and you make it talk. you know, or if you do a, you know, legitimate theater show on Broadway or television, or, you know, in a legitimate theater,
Yeah.
or on the street, you know, out on the street, it's all possible.
Yeah, to inspire people. That's really a good like purpose as a teacher. And you have like a person who just like get inspired. Anita Bambula, and a friend there just there said like a theater in a suitcase. I love it. So yes, it's really to inspire people around. And thank you very much. Do you have like something at the end? I like to conclude with something like a puppet or something. I know you write a book also in the past about puppetry. So maybe
that's a book I've written. That's American Puppet. This is a picture from Burning Man. And then with friends of mine, we wrote this this book, which is more of a kind of textbook, but it's different people writing about puppetry in different ways. This is Handspring Puppet Theater from South Africa. And I don't know. I mean, I'm going to use this puppet, and I think this puppet, which our son Isaac Bell, who lives in Parc X in Montreal, designed. I'm going to use those tomorrow for the Great Small Works International Toy Theater Festival online. And that, I think that's going to be super interesting.
Yes.
There's going to be shows in a suitcase, like the person who you quoted just now, shows from all over the place. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, that's amazing. So I will put the link down there, and we will wish a lot of people get more traffic on your online festival, and for sure share it with all over. Thank you very much, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Merci bien. C'était un bon travail que tu fais avec ce podcast.
Yes, super. And we will keep doing it. Thank you very much. I see you soon. And I will say the final word here. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching that. You know how it works. So put a thumbs up, just subscribe, share it with the world, and we will have the puppetpodcast.com one day, and we will have more stuff to share with you. Thank you very much, everyone, and see you around puppetry art. Bye.